I'm Still Here, Hollywood, and coming up on today's episode, there are some shows that will go down in TV history as setting the bar for a specific genre. And when those shows have ensemble casts, it pretty much raises the status of every actor on the screen. When it comes to cop shows that viewers and critics collectively have loved, one specific police drama and its characters from the 1990s and beyond stands out. This is Still Here Hollywood. I'm Steve Kmetko. Join me today with Donna Abandando from NYPD Blue, actor Gail O'Grady. If you'd like to be more involved with us at Still Here Hollywood, you definitely can. Just visit patreon.com/stillherehollywood. You can support us for as little as $3 a month. You can get our episodes a day before they post anywhere else. You can see what guests will be coming up and submit questions for them. You can even tell us what stars you want us to have on as guests. You'll see what goes on before and after the episode, plus exclusive behind-the-scenes info, pics, video, and more. Again, that's patreon.com/stillherehollywood. You're stunningly beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean it.
Say it again, Steve.
You're stunningly beautiful, Gail.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's your secret? Great cheekbones.
Good cheekbones holds this mess up. Probably my mom and dad, their genes.
It's all in the
Good genes.
You were nominated each year you were on the show, NYPD Blue. And then, as part of an ensemble cast, which I think is a good way of giving an award, that must have made you feel validated.
It made me feel honored and grateful to be connected to a group of actors that were so talented. I always think when you play tennis with a better tennis player, you suck and soak some of that up, and it makes you better. Plus, the writing on that show was so fine that I used to think all you need to do is open your mouth and say the words, and it can be good.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to work so hard.
Why did you leave NYPD Blue?
I left NYPD Blue because I was getting offers to do my own show. I was getting offers to do all kinds of things. In retrospect, I wished I would have stayed one more year. In fact, I asked Steven Bochco if I could leave after 2 seasons. And he said, tell you what, do one more year for me, and then you have my blessing. So I did.
Are you glad you did?
No. I wish I would have stayed at least one more year.
He was a force, Steven Bochco.
I think calling Steven Bochco a force is an understatement.
Really?
Yeah.
How so? You know him better than any of us.
Lightning in a bottle is not that common. And so when you meet somebody like Steven, who was so kind and so talented, and it's a rarity. I mean, there are so many talented people in this town, in this world, that are in our industry, but the Steven Bochcos don't come along every day.
I was interviewing, and I'm going to kick myself because I can't remember his name. He directed the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and I talked to him. I went to interview him shortly after the series went off the air. I believe it was James something.
Burroughs?
No, not James Burroughs. Anyway, I remember he said to me, people don't understand. People at home think we just throw this up on a soundstage and it happens. And he used the exact same phrase you did, lightning in a bottle.
Yes.
And it's so hard to catch lightning in a bottle more than once.
But when you do, you can And that's, with shows, you can feel it. I felt it when I held the script in my hand. When I held the script for NYPD Blue in my hand, I felt it. I knew. I have to back up because when I moved to Los Angeles, I wanted to be on a Steven Bochco show. That was a dream of mine. Mm-hmm. And he was doing LA Law at the time. And so I used to go in, oh my gosh, every other week they would bring me in to audition, and I would be so nervous and ridiculously nervous that I couldn't get a word out. And so I never got to do it.
That's understandable.
I never got to do LA Law. And when NYPD Blue came along, I thought, this is, get it together. I knew what it was. And so I read the character that they had described, and I thought, I'm going to create this. I had a feeling how other actresses were going to go in and audition, or the look. And so I thought, Donna Abandando has a bouffant and Angora sweaters, and I built the character from the outside in. And I thought, so I wouldn't be nervous, I will go in as the character, not as Gail and say, hi, how are you? And then turn the character on. I thought from the minute I drive on to the lot, I'm this person. And that's how I went in.
And that worked well for you.
It did. It did.
We've had Sharon Lawrence here.
Yes.
On the podcast. You were both on NYPD Blue together. Have you stayed in touch with her and other cast members?
I have. I love Sharon. In fact, I watched the interview that you had done with Sharon, and that's why I wanted to come and
She's a delightful person. I really enjoyed her.
She is. She's smart, and she's beautiful, and she's so talented, and we have worked a few times together after NYPD Blue. Mm-hmm. We did another series together, and yes, we have stayed in touch.
You came here from Chicago originally?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
86.
39 years. You're not old enough.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Do you like living in Hollywood?
I haven't lived here for a few years. Gosh, how do I answer that question?
You point here and you say, still here, Hollywood.
No.
On occasion, that's me.
I loved living in Los Angeles. I loved it. And then about 9 years ago, I had a bunch of friends that had moved to Summerlin, Nevada. And so I left because I didn't want to get so far that I couldn't go back and forth. And I loved living here. I really did.
What was it about L.A. that you liked?
The weather. Coming from Chicago, you're asking me that?
No, I know.
A fellow Chicagoan.
I wanted to see if that was the right answer.
A fellow Chicagoan's asking me about Los Angeles, about California. Doesn't everyone answer that with the weather first?
I think so.
So, yeah.
I had a young kid say to me once, Chicago, armpit of the world.
About Chicago?
Yes.
No.
He didn't last long. In my mind, anyway. What would you recommend to young kids? What was the best piece of advice that you got?
To become an actress?
Yes. Once you got here.
I think I got good advice in the armpit. I got good advice in Chicago. I studied in Chicago. And I studied hard in Chicago. And
Where did you go?
I went to Ted List, which was kind of an offspring of the Goodman Theater. Mm-hmm. And we studied everything from Shakespeare to, I spent more time in fourth position with a foil in my hand with the iambic pentameter going in the background so that you learned the rhythm of Shakespeare. I think studying and being disciplined was the best advice, and that they can say no a million times and you need one yes. And to not to give up, because people give up. And I have this, and I still do, this weird, I don't think it's weird, but I have inner conviction. And I never compared myself to other people's time frame, other people's success, or if I wasn't working or if I didn't get a job but another person did, it didn't diminish my dream or my drive.
Where do you suppose that came from?
My inner conviction?
Yes.
Probably from my mom and dad.
What part of the city did you live in?
I grew up in Wheaton.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
We talked about
Your
this.
brother went
My
to
brother
Wheaton
went to
College.
Wheaton College.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But I had the gift of having two parents that were incredibly encouraging in a profession that a lot of parents would say, what do you really want to do? What are you really going to do? What's your fallback? Mm-hmm. I never heard that out of their mouths. What's your fallback? I always thought if you have a fallback, you fall
back.
And I grew up with a mom and dad that used to say, you can do anything, you can be anything you want to be. You just need to work at it. Work hard.
You waited to have your son until you were in your 40s, correct?
Yes, I did.
Why did you wait so long? And I that sounds like judgment, but it's not meant to be.
What were you waiting for? Oh gosh, why did I wait so long? I think I waited because I was working. And when my son was born, I wanted, when my son was born, I wanted to be his mother. And I didn't want somebody else raising him because I was on a set. Mm-hmm. And when Michael was born, I had more of a luxury to pick and choose jobs. He came to work with me. He had a dressing room or nursery when I went back, because I was working on American Dreams at the time. And he had a nursery connected to my dressing room, full blown, crib, everything. So he came to work with me.
Well, it's nice you had the kind of a job where that's possible.
I feel so blessed I have the kind of job that was possible.
We have a question from our Patreon subscriber, another one. Natalie Jones is her name, and she asks, you appeared on Desperate Housewives playing a twisted character, Anne Schilling. What memories do you have from that show and role?
Hi, Natalie. Thank you for that question. She was definitely a twisted character, which those characters are so much fun to play. And Mark Cherry, again, that was another show I always wanted to work with Mark Cherry. And here's one. Natalie, if you remember the scene in the bathroom where Lynette confronts me about sleeping with her son, when she hauled off to smack me in the face, she smacked me in the face.
Ooh.
Like full force. Like knocked me up against the wall. And when the director yelled, cut, he goes, cut, Gail, are you okay? And so, because whenever you do a fight scene or anything, there's always a stunt coordinator stunt coordinator on the set. And so the stunt coordinator worked with us and coordinated how I would turn my head and all of that. And I turned my head, but I got hit anyway. So
There's your answer.
yeah.
Natalie also asks, you also had a memorable role on Law and Order SVU. What was it like being on such an iconic show?
It was a blast to be on such an iconic show. And when Mariska Hargitay was going to shoot to start that series, she said, we were at dinner at a friend's house, and she said, oh, I'll probably be back in a couple of months. And it's been, how many years?
Ooh, 20, a lot. Yeah.
20-something years.
Her and Chris Maloney.
Yes.
A lot of women envy her. What would you be doing if you weren't acting?
If I wasn't acting, I would probably be a lawyer or something in that field.
Getting people out of trouble?
I don't know about that. I really love, I loved working on Boston Legal. I love doing that. I find the law fascinating, that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
About 2.5 years ago, my dad wasn't doing well, and I went back to Chicago to help take care of my dad.
So that was an easy decision
It
for you to
was
make.
not even a decision. It was, I hung up the phone and I called movers and packed up my house.
Mm. And what about your mother? Is she still alive?
My mother's still here.
And how old is she?
I don't know if she wants me to say this. She is 85 years old, and at a dog show almost every weekend of her life. If I have pug hairs covering my sweater, it's Puck and Kid Rock. Those are her dogs.
And they're both pugs?
Pugs. Fawn-colored pugs.
Pugs are very popular.
They are.
Sometimes they breathe a little funny because of their trachea.
You think?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a niece who has several.
Pug people can't just have one pug.
No. When and why were you at your lowest point? Can you remember that?
When and why?
In regards to your career.
I don't know that I have ever felt that I was at my lowest point. I have been so blessed and lucky and fortunate to get to do a job that I dreamt of doing. And I am usually working. So the last few years in our business, with COVID shutdowns and doing a few episodes of something and then get shut down for the strike, I was heartbroken.
What has been the most challenging event in your life?
In my life or in my
In your
career?
life.
And the most challenging?
I'd say it's looking so beautiful.
Yeah. I wake up like this, Steve. Come
oh,
on.
nice. Good for
yeah.
you.
Please. Probably being a parent. That's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's rewarding. It's definitely a challenge.
What?
They don't come with an instruction manual.
No, they don't, do they?
No.
They don't. No instruction pamphlets for uncles either.
No.
All you have to do is give them back.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there one thing that you can think of that changed the trajectory of your career?
NYPD Blue.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. I always say that show, it wasn't a job, it gave me a career. It really did. You know, people, that saying that they're an overnight success. It took 10 years to be an overnight success. it's, the one job that you do that all of a sudden people know you.
And you experienced that?
I did.
Must be pretty exciting.
It was very, you almost don't, at the time, because you're working, you don't realize what's going on, but it wasn't a job. It wasn't just another job.
Back with more in a moment. Do you have a Hollywood hero, someone that you look up to?
Hollywood hero. There are people that I admire. I love Daniel Day-Lewis. I love Jenna Rollins. I loved Anne Bancroft. And I got to meet her when I did That Old Feeling with Carl Reiner, was directing. And then he was doing a private screening because he was friends with Mel Brooks. And Mel Brooks was married to Anne Bancroft. So we went to watch the movie. And after the movie, Anne Bancroft came up to me. And I didn't want to be uncool and just go, oh my God, I've loved, you're one of the reasons. And she looked at me and she gave me a hug and she had her hand on my shoulder and she said, it isn't easy to play the bitch, but it's the best role in the movie. And then she kissed me on the cheek and I was like, Anne Bancroft.
Yeah, that's something indelible.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite childhood memory?
Yes.
What?
Well, I have several.
Okay.
Several.
Spill them out.
I grew up in Wheaton, Illinois, but we had a cabin in Wisconsin. And in the wintertime, we would go out through the woods and find a pond, and frozen pond, and clear the ice, set up a bench, hot chocolate, and blast big band music and ice skate. So I loved that.
Which lake?
No, we were on the Kickapoo River, but we would find different ponds
I
in
spent
Wisconsin.
a lot of time in Wisconsin. I worked at their TV station in Rhinelander.
Rhinelander.
Yeah. Yeah. Home of the Hodag.
So where the Kickapoo River runs a long way, but we still have a cabin there with horses.
Wisconsin's a beautiful state.
I love Wisconsin.
Fresh air.
Yes.
And plenty of winter sports. Do you have an embarrassing bad habit?
Of course not, Steve.
Of course not. Okay. That's cool.
What, an embarrassing bad habit? That I would talk about here?
Okay.
Ask me again.
Let me ask you
I
this.
don't have any bad habits, Steve.
Good for you. I had plenty.
And I'm not that good of an actor to sell that line that I, I just said.
Do you have an embarrassing... Do you look like Belinda Carmichael?
Carlisle?
Carlisle?
Belinda Carlisle? Yes. Yes.
Because it's uncanny. And she's... I think
when
she's
I was
very,
younger, people used to say that.
Yeah. What's the best lesson you passed on to your son?
Oh, there's so many.
How old is he now?
He's 20. He's going to be 21 in May.
Oh, he's legal.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Fasten your seatbelt.
My seatbelt's been fastened for so many years. The best advice that I've given him, to not think that everything's about you. To not take things so personally. And what I mean by that is when somebody, you know what I mean by that, but when somebody says something, it's not about you, it's more about them. And to not take it personally.
It takes a while to realize that.
It does. It's taken me until yesterday. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I love those things that say, I was today years old when I learned.
I know. I've started seeing those too.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that.
Best travel experience and worst travel experience. Do you travel a lot with your job?
I do. I do. Best travel experience. I went to Rome on a movie when I was, I think, 24 years old. That was magical. Absolutely magical. And also, at the same time, ended up being one of the worst travel experiences because my mom came over to visit. My mom used to come and visit me when I was on location in great places. So, of course, she came to Rome, and the night she got there, we got robbed.
Oh.
So that wasn't a good travel
Right.
experience. But it was still incredible.
Rome is Rome.
Rome is Rome.
It's a beautiful city.
Yes.
Second only to my favorite, Paris.
I love Paris.
Yeah, me too. Have you had any strange fan encounters?
There's been a few.
Yeah.
There's been a few, mostly good and always flattering. I have the luxury of doing this job, being a working actor, and still being able to go to a grocery store, still being able to walk out my door. You know, I'm not Tom Cruise or somebody that, you know, if they want to go to a grocery store or they want to go to a dinner. I still have people come up to me almost every day, where someone will recognize me, but it's not intrusive. It's not obnoxious. And like I said, I have the luxury of being able to have the job that I want to have and being able to have a life.
And you're taller than Tom Cruise.
Am I? The probably embarrassing is that it always seems that people, before when it used to be, can I have your autograph? But now it's, can we take a picture? And it's usually the days when you look schlumpy and you're just running to the gas station or just running to the grocery store to pick something up. And that's when people are like, can we take a picture? And your face is on backwards. Mm-hmm. Your face isn't even on yet. And you're wearing something that, you probably shouldn't have worn out of the house.
It says life is beautiful across,
yeah.
across the sweatshirt. Yeah. Well, I think fans come to expect that. I mean, they know you're human. Oh, maybe not. They don't know you're human?
I'm human.
Okay. Did you have a WTF moment when you moved to Hollywood?
Yes, I did. So, I don't know how you mean that. But
what the, it doesn't have to be bad. It can be
it's a good one.
Yeah.
So when I was in front of, I think it was like the second day that I got here, I came out of Warner Brothers and didn't know where I was going. And this is a few decades before, hey Siri, get me to wherever. And so I got in my car and stopped at a light, and I thought, I don't know which way I'm going. So I rolled down my window and said, excuse me. And Henry Winkler goes, yes. And I went, oh my God, it's Henry Winkler. And I said, can you tell me how to get to the 101 or the 134 or something like that? And he said, sure. And he said, you go down here, you make a right, turn left, head east, all the instructions. Thank you. And I was lost for 3.5 hours after that because I ended up on the freeway going out to San Bernardino. Didn't hear a word he said. He was so nice. But I was so blown away that it was Henry Winkler.
It's a shame that you had to go to San Bernardino. Been there, done that. Have you ever had a near-death experience? I had a person come up to me once and said, you know what you need? What? a couple of good near-death
Not today.
experiences.
Not today, thank God.
Yeah.
I've had a few concussions.
Mm-hmm.
So I fell down a vacant house staircase when I was 4 years old. I don't know if that was near death.
And it's good, too, that you don't know.
There's probably been a few things that I've worked on in my career that have been a near death to my career, but...
Just a couple of years ago, I had a stroke.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Huh? That was near death. The doctor told me it was near death.
No, I haven't. I have not had a stroke or...
Yeah. He said, did you play the lottery? I said, no, why? Because you're lucky to be alive. Oh, thank you, doctor.
No, I haven't had those moments.
That's, knock on wood, really the only one I've had. Do you have a favorite episode or storyline that was on NYPD Blue that you enjoyed?
I loved the storyline between Donna Abandando, and Greg Medavoy.
Why?
Because it was sweet.
Gail O'Grady is a softie?
A little bit. Yeah.
Well, that's
There's
okay.
there's commercials that bring tears to my eyes.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But I just loved their romance, and I loved his innocence, and I loved the way they wrote her story with him.
One last question. You have to answer it.
Okay.
Finish this sentence. My life would have been better if...
Oh, wow. Okay. My life would have been better. I have like pages of things that I could... My life would have been better if I was more confident.
What keeps you from being more confident? I mean, you've accomplished a lot of things.
This is more before, I think. This is more younger. Now, that question doesn't occur to me. My life would have been better if.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can sit all day and answer that question back and forth. But then then I always get like philosophical and think, but we wouldn't be sitting here. So if you take one little thing out.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about that, and maybe it's more, I wish I had at the time, I wish I'd been more confident. I wish I had believed in myself as much as, let's say, my dad did. So my life would be different.
But dads do that because it's their job.
Well, some dads are better at their job than
yes,
others,
this
and I
is
got
true.
really lucky. My life would be different if... I guess that. Maybe my life would be different if I had trusted myself more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But nobody trusts themselves in the beginning.
Well, it's that gut instinct that you have, that sixth sense that you have that you go against.
Tell me about going back to Chicago.
I swore I'd never spend another winter there, but here we are. But the great thing was I had a scene partner, my dad. I had somebody that I could run lines with before I would go, because I flew back and forth for work. And so my dad was there, and I'm working on a super cool show that's coming out this year on HBO Max. And my dad would run lines, and we'd be sitting there doing a scene, and all of a sudden he'd be like this. And I go, it's your line. Go. And he'd go, I really don't appreciate this kind of language. I don't know why they have to talk like that. And I'd be like, okay, I'm getting paid to talk like this. Eyes down, read your lines. So
save your judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
exactly.
funny.
Yeah.
And you can't tell us the name of it just yet.
I can say the name of it. It's called Duster.
Duster?
Yes.
Okay. And when will we see it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's J.J. Abrams' new show for
Okay.
HBO Max.
And-
It comes out this year. I can tell you that.
Okay. Well, this is only March.
It's coming out in the next 8 months.
8 months, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be out in the next 8 months.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay.
Gail.
Still Here Hollywood is a production of the Still Here Network. All things technical run by Justin Zangerly. Theme music by Brian Sanashin. And executive producer is Jim Lichtenstein.